Minority invisibility is a very real social problem that Asians and Asian Americans face in this day and age. Why is Asian immigration not a frequented topic in the media, despite the fact that Asians continue to be one of the largest immigrant groups in the United States? The invisibility of Asian Americans and immigrants in the media affects millions. So why is this something we need to talk about? A report from the National Coalition for Asian Pacific American Community Development highlights the increasing number of Asian American and Pacific Islanders living in poverty. The report states that AAPI poor are one of the fastest growing poverty populations in the wake of the recession. From 2007 to 2011, the number increased by more than 500,000. Despite a 50% increase in the numbers of AAPIs living in poverty, these dramatic increases have not been reflected in the AAPI poverty rate. The number has only gone up 0.3% in statistics. The AAPI poverty population is also increasingly native-born. Rosa's story is one that displays the socioeconomic issues that Asian immigrants face being passed down to later generations. Little to her knowledge then, Rosa's parents, who are immigrants, struggled greatly financially when she was young and now face eviction of their apartment. Rosa talks about how the model minority myth places her in a complex situation.
And sometimes they treat it as a stereotype that a lot of Asian population are actually made out of money, but really it's not true. Many of the times it seems like we have a lot of money, but it's not. Many workers here may be working minimum wage to just get by. You actually don't see what's really in front of you, like the housing situation many of the immigrants who immigrate here are living in. These Chinese immigrants sometimes are living in such a small room. It surprises you how they are able to live in such a 8 by 10 feet room. And not only that, I think it bothers me a lot.
The increasing poverty rate among native-born AAPI indicates that the majority of attention given to the small segment that is economically successful masks the struggles of millions of AAPI. For Laotian and Cambodian groups, the poverty statistics are even more severe. The combined poverty rate for the groups is well over a majority. Samuth Mel's life defies the stereotype of an immigrant economic success story. A Cambodian refugee who grew up in poverty in the United States, Samuth talks about his family story as one that is not typical of what most Americans think of when they hear Asian or Asian American. Growing up, they received little aid for their situation. Samuth's story is one of many that represents the struggling AAPI immigrants in poverty that often get overlooked.
My name is In-Chul Choi, and I'm Executive Director of Korean American Community Services. KACS, founded in 1972, is a 44-year-old comprehensive service organization for Korean Americans in metropolitan Chicago, as well as other immigrant families in the Albany Park community. On the other hand, demographically speaking, that the number is small compared to other minority communities, like African Americans constitute 12%, or maybe a little more, or Latinos constitute about 13%, and Asians are small to begin with, and it's very, very multi-ethnic communities too. We have a modern minority myth, and I think Asian Americans are doing relatively better socioeconomically, but in terms of return of these socioeconomic accomplishment, I think the returns to Asian American professional, I'm reading that is smaller than the returns to, say, white American. There are also struggling low to moderate income members of our community, but because of the modern minority myth, it's been often overlooked that Asians are problem-free communities. The state of Illinois also eliminated many immigrant supporting programs like citizenship education and application, or public benefit application program, and programs to address a digital divide, things like that got eliminated. 소리의 뼈니까 the bone of speech or the bone of sound is a silence. I think that this encaptures Asian culture. When it comes to civic advocacy, I think we tend to be a little bit quiet. Somehow we sometimes need to overcome in the American context and talk about our needs.
So, if it's a combination of factors including the success stories that make up the model minority myth, a less vocal culture, lack of representation, and smaller numbers, how do we begin to solve the problem?
I think advocacy, community advocacy will be helpful, or project like this so that you create your own audience will be helpful, like disseminating our messages. I think volunteering is very important, that you are contributing to your community. Also, it's a part of civic engagement and community education, so that we are interlinked and working together. So, especially for young people.
I chose volunteering at two local organizations, the Chinese American Service League and the Korean American Community Services, as a way to begin to solve the issue of immigration and minority invisibility. Civic engagement is necessary to breed leaders that will begin to shed light on the realities that many AAPI face as a result of lacking visibility in society. As a society, we need to cast away this dangerously homogenizing myth about the model minority. And as an Asian community, we need to begin to advocate for each other, becoming more vocal and expressing our needs.